So the Indiana Fever are now firmly in the contenders category. Whether you put them as high-tier contenders or just normal contenders, that's fine. Whether you put them as slight contenders or full contenders, like, she was, like, they're in that category with the signing of Natasha Howard. A huge, and I mean huge signing, because it fills the one spot where this team is weakest. And look, I get it. This team was so good when Temi Fagbenle was on the floor at the power forward. You have now got a much better player than Temi and a much better player than Alyssa Smith. You have got yourself an extremely good player in Natasha Howard, averaging 17 points per game, who plays hard, who runs the floor hard, and plays defense when she feels like it. And by plays defense when she feels like it, when she's on a good team, she's going to play defense. She's going to play defense, let's be real. And I think that it's going to be tough to win this WNBA championship, because I don't think teams should be giving up any picks, but I do think teams should be trying to trade their individuals because everyone's a free agent next year. But when it comes to Indiana, you've got a couple of years to really make it work. When you have Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, two all-stars on rookie deals, you've got to make it work. They could have had, like, getting rid of Celeste Taylor was madness because of the deal they had her on. That was still madness. But for the likes of, they still got Lexi Hull on the rookie deal. They're going to get something for Alyssa Smith because Alyssa Smith is on a rookie deal. A good team will trade for Alyssa Smith because the Fever can take on a little bit of salary. Not a crazy amount of salary, but they can take on a little bit of salary. And I'm going to talk in another video about potential targets for Alyssa Smith. Because obviously, for me, I think the two main ones are you're trying to fleece Connecticut. You're trying to either get Beck Allen as one of the best bench power forwards in the entire W, or you're trying to get Marina Mabry as the best bench player in the W to come off the bench. But the Indiana Fever roster, like, let's be real, you go 9, at most 10 deep in the playoffs. And as a team, you need a starting 5 and just backups for every position. That is all you really need. So you're looking a starting 5 of Caitlin Clark at the 1, the best point guard in the WNBA. At the shooting guard position, Kelsey Mitchell, arguably the best shooting guard in the WNBA. Small forward, Lexi Hull, a glue guy connective piece, would not start for most teams in the WNBA, but is a player that is going to give you really good defense. She's going to work her ass off, and she's going to hit shots from the corners. Then you've got the 4, Natasha Howard, a former defensive player of the year who averaged 17 points per game next year, who runs so hard. She runs up and down the floor so freaking hard. And that's going to be a massive thing for the Indiana Fever, is just how hard Natasha Howard runs. And she also can shoot a little bit. Her jumper is nice. I'm pretty sure she can make free throws. I need to check when it comes to Natasha Howard for free throws. Her jumper looks good. I will say that. Her jump shot genuinely looks good, but it doesn't go in as well as it looks. But, like, based off last season, she shot, for a career, she's a 30% three-point shooter. Last season, I think, was a blip. She shot 20, but I do think she's going to be around a 30% three-point shooter, there or thereabouts. But is a plus 70% free throw shooter. She also destroyed the Fever last year. Absolutely destroyed the Fever. And she's somebody that can score a bit inside, can run the floor, can score a bit on the outside, and she is a veteran presence who will, alongside Aaliyah Boston, be anchoring that defense 100 times better on the defensive end than Alyssa Smith, especially when she's, like, trying to play. And then you've got Aaliyah Boston, who I know a lot of people are like, oh, she's 6'5". Aaliyah Boston is not 6'5". I don't care what she's listed at. She is not 6'5". She is shorter than Angel Reese. She is about 6'3"-ish. Like, that is the height Aaliyah Boston is. But she is super smart, good inside interior defender, struggles with the giants because she is undersized, but there's not a lot of teams that have giants. There's really not. The Atlanta Dream have their double big lineup. But Aaliyah Boston, like, with Natasha Howard, it's someone that can guard your Aja Wilsons. It's somebody that can guard your Stewies without leaving Alyssa Smith on them. So it's a much better than having Alyssa Smith in there. And then, assuming Alyssa Smith is gone, You've got a bench of Grace Berger, who's going to be a really solid backup point guard. And I do think they bring in a vet one too, to kind of help Grace Berger, because if you've got 2 young point guards, you kind of sometimes do need that veteran presence. But I think you do need to bring in a vet 1/2 and let Grace Berger play the 1/2, because you can't just ignore Grace Berger this season like they did last season. She can be the best backup point guard in the W. Then you've got Katie Lou Samuelson as a backup 3. Fine. Like an absolutely fine bench player. At the backup 4, 5 at the minute, you've got Dantas. So you're now looking at the draft and seeing what you need. Like, a Tahina Pau Pau would be nice, but that would mean obviously you don't really go for the vet one too, because you've got Pau Pau and what's her name? And Grace Berger kind of in those positions. For me, off the bench now, if you can't get, or for that 8th pick, if you can't get yourself getting off Alyssa Smith, if you can't find yourself somebody like a Beck Allen, I think because you've got 2 decent enough defenders, non-shooters, I think Maddie Westbeld at 8 could be a nice pickup. Or when it comes to the Fever, if they know Westbeld is going to be there at a lower pick, maybe you do something like what the Lynx did, where let's say Anissa Morrow's available, you don't want Morrow, or if somebody's available, you know a team wants, like what the Lynx did with Reese. The Lynx didn't want Reese. The Lynx ended up getting themselves a pick swap and Sika Kone from the Sky on top of just going to literally go down 1 spot in the draft. And for the Fever, if they're looking for Westbeld, who could be available with that 13th pick, maybe they're like, let's call up the Aces. Let's call up the Aces. Let's get one of their first. Let's get 2 pick swaps. Call up the Aces. Heck, maybe Meg Gustafson. Maybe you call up Meg Gustafson to get Maddie Westbeld. You call up the Aces and are like, look, give us Meg Gustafson. We'll give you the 8th pick. Give us the 13th pick in Gustafson. And then take Maddie Westbeld. You've got Gustafson there as kind of a backup center. Backup center with Dantas, the 3 of them as your backup bigs. And then you can trade in Alyssa Smith to try bring in that kind of vet shooting guard if you can do contracts. Something like that would be very interesting. But for me, the Indiana Fever are well and truly contenders. I wouldn't put them as my top tier contenders, but they're contenders. There is a non-zero chance that the Indiana Fever win the WNBA championships. And for me, I think they are contenders. They are one piece. They're one big piece away. And I don't even mean top tier players. I just mean a good player. Like a borderline all-star player. They're just one borderline all-star player away from being in the top tier contenders with alongside the Lynx and the Liberty. Because I think the Lynx are probably going to pick up Tina Charles and they're going to get better. Even though they lost Chechi Zandalasini, I think Diamond Miller will come in and be better this season. And I think the Liberty probably getting Satu means they're one of the most stacked teams in WNBA history, player for player wise, because they've got freaking Phoebich on a rookie deal. So, yeah, it's going to be tough, but Indiana, in my opinion, right now, are the 3rd best. They're the best of the rest. The Lynx and the Liberty are probably the 2 best teams. I think the Fever are the best of the rest right now, including the Aces and including the Storm. And I think that one more signing pushes Fever into that top contenders. I think I've always said this is the way I rate the teams is you've got at number 1, in the 1 and 2, you've got the 2 teams that were in the finals last year. Then you've got the Aces, the Fever, the Storm, and the Mercury. I think right now the Fever are in that second group. I think the Fever go into the top group if they make one more big move. But yeah, even a Janelle Salone would be an absolutely perfect one, and they could afford her. Janelle Salone comes in and probably starts over Lexi Hull. And then you bring Lexi Hull as your bench defensive shooter. That really shores up the bench. That would be the perfect thing. But anyway, yeah, that is pretty much it. That's the video. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.